Alright, magic pencil. Make my favorite ink more fancy, wherever you are in my room.
Yes.
Pencil, I said fancy, not British. You know what? I'll take it. I ain't gonna complain. You better turn it back after I'm done with the review, though.
Maybe.
Today we are taking a look at the calligraphy ink by the Manuscript pen company made in Great Britain. Now I am super excited for this review. Now if you guys have been a fan of the channel, this ink has appeared before. It was actually the only ink that worked with my glass dip pen. So it was a very fun, interesting challenge figuring out which ink worked. This one proved it did. So I figured the next review I should make would be this one. Why? Because I could reuse B footage and be a little lazy today. But either way, I love the design of this inkwell. First off, this sticker looks awesome. I love how metallic it is. I love that it actually just says calligraphy ink, like not drawing, specifically only for calligraphy. But on top of that, it actually is just a really nice, like this is what you think an inkwell looks like usually in like a cartoon. Nice sturdy glass. On top of that, if you open up the lid, which it's a lid, not an eyedropper, it's an actual top to it. I love that. You get the ink inside. Now this retails for about $9.99 on Michael's, and I'm pretty sure you could find it cheaper somewhere else. But this is a very interesting situation because this is an ink I've used quite a bit, so I know how it works, but we're still going to test it in the Batman sketchbook. Not bad. Now, I actually use this with the glass pen, so it's a very different feel than a normal dip pen. But I gotta say, not the smoothest ink, but definitely a very nice, rich ink. It rolls off the nib extremely well. Again, it's a very different feeling using a traditional dip pen to a glass pen. It just feels so different. But again, this is a good ink for calligraphy. Definitely getting some solid, strong lines. I really like this. Now let's do a test with our quill nib. Definitely a very scratchy ink. Not super long, but you know, they're doing the job. I already know what this ink does with a brush, but I'm gonna just demonstrate it real quick for you guys. The ink itself is actually a really fast drying ink, which I really like. So if I make a quick little splash here, you can see I'm just filling the area. Once in a while, you actually see where you need to go over it, but for the most part, it goes on true black, it stays true black, and there are very few gaps or holes in it. But this ink is a very fast drying ink. Like, I am really impressed by how fast this ink actually dries. So on line work, yeah, okay. Look, it just smudged right there. Besides that, it was pretty much all done. Oh, no, I guess I feel kind of stupid. But when I did my test drawing of Wrath, it actually dried really, really quick. I was impressed by how quick it dried. Don't know if this is actually waterproof. That's a great question. Let's find out. I'm actually kind of curious now. Alright, I don't think it's yeah, it's not waterproof. Let's do a quick ink wash test because I'm really curious to see how that would work. By the way, if you guys don't have inking syringes, definitely invest in them. They're really nice. So this is our most concentrated one. Let's see if that attests. Barely watered down at all. It's basically the same, just a little more gray. Our middle one, this one's more watered. Yeah, just as I thought, too watery. Let's do this one here. There we go. This is the perfect. Look at that. That is perfect. I love that. So the ink washes are actually not that bad. I'm kind of worried how that's going to interact with the line art because what I want to do, so I could just play the B footage for the glass pen review. I don't want to do that. I want to add to that. So what I'm going to do is actually do some ink washes, which I think would really highlight and touch up the piece. However, I'm curious to see how that's going to mess. Yeah, that's going to mess up part of our line art. What I'm thinking is I'm going to try to probably do it in a small area, see how that goes, and then we'll see what we do, and then we'll add it to a few other spots. That's what I'm thinking. So let's roll it. Super time lapse. And we're done, guys. I absolutely love how this piece came out. The ink wash really added more mood and depth to this piece that was sorely lacking just using line art. And if you purchase the original version of this piece on my Artstation account, and if you purchase the original version of this piece with the original line art without the ink wash, this version will be available for 50 cents. And even if you didn't purchase it, it is still available for you for 50 cents because that's just how I roll. I think it's pretty fair to say that this ink is really meant for calligraphy. I think it's pretty clear that this ink really is just for calligraphy, not just because it says calligraphy on it, but it's really meant to just make a word or a sentence that looks really nice. You're not doing an ink wash, just draw it on a piece of paper, copy it onto your computer, boom, you got your thing. This ink really is not meant for drawing. The fact that you have to be so careful and use kid gloves to actually do an ink wash really shows and detracts from actually using it. And on top of that, the line art itself is really solid, but there are areas where it is inconsistent. Overall, I still like the ink. I think the Winsor & Newton non-bleed proof liquid ink is the better non-waterproof ink, and that even can be used for drawing and for calligraphy. I think that's the better ink out of the two, but this one gets a 5. You know, that's average on my scale of 1 to 10. It's not the worst, it's not the best. I got some cool art out of it. You can definitely, if you know what you're doing, you have some skill and talent, you can definitely get some cool artwork too, but there are some better alternatives that I do recommend more than this. But with that said, let me know what you guys think of the ink itself. Have you used it in the past, and do you think it's actually really good for drawing and not just for calligraphy? Or what do you think of the artwork itself? Do you guys like it? Do you hate it? What are some of the areas you think that I could use to improve on? Like, for example, the cross-hatching on Marco's bag could have been a little more solid, and I could have put a few more hours into it to really make it stand out and look more real. But with all that said, remember, I'm J-Rod at BATTLEBrawlerproductions. I draw with power in my own soul.